Do you like music? Do you like rock and roll? You like jazz? Or maybe, do you like to blast the raw screams of your victims in the world's deadliest Bluetooth speaker? Or do you like to drink yourself to liver failure, take so many drugs you become impervious to bullets, have so much sex that you single-handedly are responsible for 20% of the next generation's abandonment issues? Do you like to party so hard you know for damn sure you're not going to survive 4 a.m., and so you're taking as many people with you as you feasibly can? Well, boy howdy do I have a faction for you, comprised of the most vile, most hectic, most degenerate, most carnal, most visceral individuals you can imagine. The Emperor's Children are the most horrific sub-faction in Warhammer, and I'm going to give you PTSD. I'm going to give you the reasons why. If you enjoy this type of content or like this video, feel free to press the funny little thumbs up button down near the description, and while you're at it, maybe even subscribe to keep up with whatever shenanigans is happening over on this side of the world. Also, if Emperor's Children is your favorite 40k sub-faction, feel free to let me know so we can put you on a watch list. I mean, talk to you about it. With that being said, the Emperor's Children. Oh, the Emperor's Children. With the exception of Chaos Knights and Demons, they are the last Chaos faction I need to cover before I have completely made videos on at least one major alliance within the Grimdark setting we all know and love, and I am excited. Very excited. Because these guys I have been waiting on to do until now, so I can finish off CSM before inevitably delving into all the sub-factions within each sub-faction within each sub-faction with a bang. Ooh. These guys, they're hectic and should be, or just got, a new index depending on when you're seeing this, since they're not in the normal Chaos Space Marines index anymore, because Chaos Space Marines got a codex, which means that they should be getting their own dedicated faction release, which means a new Demon Fulgrim, which I am so fucking here for. A brief description of the Emperor's Children is pretty much, think of anything that is absolutely whack to bring to a war zone. Thought of it? That's them. Music guns. They got it. Bright neon colors. They got it. All the freaky kinky. These guys are fast, weird, freaky, and so much damn fun you've got no idea. But I am here to enlighten you. Which of course includes the lore. Because of course, we begin with the lore. And the lore starts with dropkicking a baby. Shortly after Fulgrim was absolutely sent into Chemos, the Emperor began the Unification Wars and conquered all of Terra. Quickly moving on to the Sol system, this would be when the Emperor would begin to unveil even more Space Marine legions, including the Third Legion, as they were known at the time. The Third Legion was distinct from other legions due to their willingness to lead the still green Imperial Army, which was deemed as an unpleasant or distasteful job by the other legions. To be fair, saying a Space Marine Legion is different to another legion, it's like saying peanut butter and sewage water taste different, because they're all special in their own way. You know, it's the gimmick being a superhuman super soldier, but unlike all the previous factions I have covered, the Third Legion made this distinct trait of theirs not only a defining feature of their legion, but it gained credence to their reputation and status. The Word Bearers were zealots, the World Leaders were berserkers, the Thousand Sun sorcerers. They're all very different from one another. But none of these things made their, I don't know, the zealous fury of the Word Bearers, the rampaging strength of the World Eaters, the arcane tomfuckery bullshittery that includes the Thousand Suns. None of these legions made these traits a means of acquiring status and reputation, nobility and prestige. Instead, they were just mere facts about these legions, which is completely unlike the Third Legion. The Third Legion made their distinct characteristic a universal aspiration for all, and from that, they began to earn the nickname the Emperor's Children. for their ability to not only meet but far exceed, supersede, and megaseed the Emperor's very own expectations, being paragons not only of military doctrine, skill, and might, but perfection also. For this reason, the Emperor's children quickly ascended beyond the other legions and became the face of the new and expanding Imperium of Man. Being sent on diplomatic missions and emissarial expeditions, the Third Legion was such a beacon of hope for the survivors of the Dark Age, the Age of Strife, the children of Old Night, that the Emperor personally bestowed upon unto them his very own Palatine Aquila to denote them as his own. This is a right that was only ever given to the Adeptus Custodes, his personal bodyguard up to this point. Now, no other Imperial force, be it the Imperial Navy, Imperial Army, as it was known at the time, even the Thunder Warriors that were killed just before, nobody other than the Adeptus Custodes had this right. Nobody except the Emperor's children. This was an absolute honor and would not come without great cost. The Legion was stricken by a great tragedy on a transit to Luna, the moon. A vital amount of Emperor's children gene seed was lost. The reasons as to why being this asshole on screen. But that's a story for another time. What matters now is that the stock of Emperor's children that they were left with was malformed and very, very mutated, corrupted with what was known simply as the Blight. This would devastate the Legion and leave a mark forevermore, as the majority of the Legion was purged, decimating the Emperor's children and leaving them as one of the smallest legions within the Imperium. By that time, the Emperor had arrived at Chemos, the legion numbering in the hundreds, pathetically minuscule compared to the Ultramarines or Dark Angels, which numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Nevertheless, Fulgrim had arrived to bring salvation to the Legion, a way of surviving and growing larger so that the children of the Emperor would not die out. But now, we get to tell the story of the dropkick himself, Fulgrim. Fulgrim, after being punted into the Arctic darkness of deep space, landed on a mining world called Chemos. Adopted by the miners, of Chemos, Fulgrim from his youth worked in the mines for the longest hours with little to no rest, and this was due to the high demand of resources upon Chemos. It was expedient and great and necessary.
See, the children still yearn for the mines.
Though as time passed, Fulgrim eventually ascended to great power on Chemos and used his Primarch level intellect and the ability to publicly speak, an ability which we Warhammer players lack, to organize and bring prosperity to Chemos. Within 50 years, Fulgrim became the leader of a prosperous world that was rich in lavish and luxurious people and places, artwork and dining. Becoming royalty, he would engage in the politics and wars of Chemos, marrying to forge alliances, dividing resources amongst his trusted allies, all that medieval type shit. Inevitably, the might of the Imperium of Man reared its head upon Chemos, and the Emperor came to reclaim his lost son. Fulgrim knew, upon seeing the Emperor, that he was his father and that his purpose was far greater than simply being the ruler of a god-forsaken world. The Emperor enlightened Fulgrim on the knowledge of Holy Terra, or just Terra, the Great Crusade, the Imperium of Man, and his Legion. And upon his return to Terra, Fulgrim was met with 200 Emperor's children legionaries, which were to be placed under the command of Horus Lupercal until the Legion could grow to its full size once more. At this time, Horus was still a pretty small guy and not balding, which means not evil, unlike some people. As the Emperor's children, now led by Fulgrim, fought with the Lunar Wolves, the Legion swelled in numbers as recruits from both Terra and Chemos flooded the Legion in droves. Finally, deep into the late years of the Great Crusade, the Emperor's children were whole, with the numbers to separate from the Lunar Wolves and a Primarch to lead them. They were set, but nothing gold can stay. Water break. my God-given right to
Sippy Time.
It would be around this time when Fulgrim would seek the utter perfection and mastery that came with being a Primarch, and even contest who was the better Forge Master between Ferrus Manus himself, which would spark a friendship that would end with the both of them, losing their heads. Bad joke, I know. Fulgrim would then defeat a Xenorace simply known as the Lair, and with this victory, he would take a trophy, a sword, called the Blade of the Lair. Just before, however, a useless Eldrad Oathrin of the Eldar Craftworld, that one from Dawn of War 1 and 2, would warn Fulgrim to not take the Blade of the Lair for reasons he can't explain. I don't need to say that trust me bro didn't work. So, Fulgrim's fate was sealed, and the Slaaneshi Greater Demon that was trapped within the sword would ultimately damn him, corrupting his pure vision of perfection with so much sex and violence you literally could not imagine it, and I can't show it. When the heresy broke out upon Isstvan V, the Primarchs of the Iron Hands and Emperor's Children would meet on opposing sides. The still loyal Ferrus Manus, blinded by rage, would try to kill the traitor Fulgrim in a duel using the weapons they had crafted for one another. However, Fulgrim would concede to the temptation of the Lair and use this possessed sword to decapitate Ferrus, thus the head joke, and in his guilt for the atrocity he just committed against his greatest friend, he would allow himself to be taken over by the demon within the blade. It would be at this point that the Legion would begin to become something unrecognizable from what it used to be. A perverted, twisted image of its former self, which would not merely seek perfection through trial and effort, but would achieve a false interpretation of perfection by mutilating and brutalizing whatever it needed in order to attain perfect ecstasy. Fulgrim would soon achieve demonhood on Idris by attempting to sacrifice Perturabo of the Iron Warriors along with his legion. Fulgrim failed because of course he would. It's Fulgrim we're talking about here, which, for context, Fulgrim was one of the weakest Primarchs since he wasn't exactly a Primarchy Primarch. He was very flaunty and cared for beauty, which is the polar opposite of pumping iron and blasting metal to get ridiculously Goku level fucked, which is why Fulgrim wanted to achieve demonhood, to become stronger. But now, he was not only a flimsy and weak duelist, he was also a massive degenerate. So regardless of failing to be, a Primarch and kill Big Dick Purdy, Slaanesh pitied him enough to give him demonhood. Anyways, for funsies. So he became a demon prince of Slaanesh and wounded Perturabo grievously. From then on, the Emperor's Children would be last united at the Siege of Terra before turning 90% of the Terran population into ash to snort them like crack until Horus died, in which the Legion shattered into countless shards to do their own fucked up things in the wider galaxy. Now in the 40k setting, the Emperor's Children exist in disorganized warbands, tearing apart everything for the sake of ultimate pleasure. Fulgrim is currently pulling a Lorgar, but the Emperor's Children kinda be gaming right now. They are always getting into something, and generally are spread out either as a specialist unit in a conflict or a major force in a fighting war, right? Which begs the question, how do they play in the tabletop? Well, considering that they don't necessarily have their own rules anymore, but rather are still an offshoot of regular Chaos Space Marines with a special unit and a leader, it seems like, until they become their own faction with their own rules, their own detachments. This will be the best I can do to guide you into making an Emperor's Children army. So, let's get some facts out of the way. The faction rule is still Dark Pact, and the detachment they get, or currently have access to, are still the Chaos Space Marine Codex detachments, which means that we are looking at pretty much a regular CSM build with higher melee proclivity and some absolute banger ranged units and funky dudes. So let's get into it. Immediately, your warlord, going to be Lucius, because, come on, it's He's the champion of Slaanesh. He's John Children. It's like having Marnius Calgar in your army and not making him your warlord. Marnius Calgar is literally Jimmy Space, king of the Space Marines. You gotta. Same thing with fucking Lucius, right? You gotta. As well as that, you're going to pick the Slaanesh option for every choice you make, whether it be keywords or which Chaos God you buff in Packbound Zealots. From there, you pretty much bring whatever leader options are most melee oriented. Lord Discordant, Master of Executions, take your pick. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you have the next units, these next few units, to make your Emperor's Children really be Emperor's Children. Noise Marines are a must-have. All the Sonic shenanigans, right? Sonic Blasters, one Blastmaster, right? The champion has a Doom Siren. Perfect. Bring one or two of these guys, as they are the main Emperor's Children E unit in your army, because they're literally the only Emperor's Children army in Chaos Space Marines. Not ideal for melee. Very not. But fantastic, as they are a fast-ranged skirmish unit. Their weapons already have assault, and you can just move and shoot. Very nice. Then, for your obligatory speedy melee, you bring Legionnaires with chainswords to max out your infantry. Maybe a Terminator squad, but you might want to save room in your army for the obligatory special melee unit for when the faction actually releases, because come on, Death Guard got it, Thousand Suns got it, World Leaders got the 8-pound, right? It's a Terminator equivalent that's Thousand Suns or Death Guard or Emperor's Children or World Leaders flavored, okay? You're gonna get it. Save some room. But, on the other hand, Terminator's always good. From there, your vehicle list will look something like a Land Raider to bring melee guys into melee, or a Rhino or two for Noise Marines, Chaos Bikers, if you can fucking find some, Chaos Predators, and a Hellbird or two. Paint them in black and pink, and bada boom, you Emperor's Children. Alright? But just a quick disclaimer. This list is a bit generic for the sake of the fact these are some of the most likely units to be included in the Emperor's Children Codex when it releases, so keep in mind that maybe some of these units, probably Legionnaires and Chaos Bikers, might not be in the Emperor's Children Codex when it comes out, but then again, this is what I feel makes a very thematic Emperor Children's army that still plays relatively well. The vehicles allow for some nice speedy board control, enabling you to quickly deploy or redeploy your units across the board without feeling too World Eaters-esque. But now, we get to the make or break decision that could either make this a vanilla Chaos Space Marines build with just, you got your melee guys, you got your shooting guys, you got your tanks, you got your obligatory HQ, throw in some HQs in addition to that, bada boom, great. Or, a real Emperor's Children feeling, ready for that faction release, quick start, in your face, rapid, reactive, crazy zoomies list. What detachments work best with this list? And I can only really see two. It's either Renegade Raiders, all weapons get assault, +1 AP to enemies on objectives, or the Veterans of the Long War detachment. Hear me out. You pick one enemy unit in the command phase, reroll hits against that unit for all units in your army. It's Oath of Moment. Hear me out, hear me out. That's why I picked Veterans as the other one. Renegade Raiders make almost your entire army ridiculously responsive, right? Everything gets assault, so you can always be advancing, you can always be moving, you can always be flinging around the board. Very Slaanesh-like. Speed is your friend. Whereas Veterans of the Long War allows your Noise Marines and tanks to really, really shine. Either way, both are very good detachment options. For your fast responsiveness, your fast meleeness will really help you take over the board with a quick unit. Everything gets assault is very, very good. On the other hand, being able to really precisely pick apart your enemy with your really good ranged weapons, with the Emperor's Children specific weapons, really is going to come in handy. Take my advice with a grain of salt though. Just a quick disclaimer. I'm not the absolute authority, so this is just what I feel and what I reckon would make a nice list. That pretty much covers the Emperor's Children. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like and comment if you like Emperor's Children. We need to make a watch list. Feel free to subscribe and see when I'm going to make a new video. And no, I am never talking about Lucius.
Rock and roll,